Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 43 of the Inventive Marketing Club. We're here every Friday at 10 a.m. to help build a better marketing strategy. Good to see a few people with us this morning. Nice to see you all. So we've got no other guests with me. With us today. I'm just doing the presentation. We do have Claire, who runs the club. Hello, Claire. How are you today? Hello. So let's get started, because I'm not sure how long this is going to take, because it's a new presentation. I haven't done it before, so hopefully it's not going to be 2 hours. No, it won't be 2 hours. So let's get straight into it. So today we're going to be looking at Yoast, which is a WordPress plugin, which we use all the time. There are lots of different ones that you can lots of different plugins you can get for WordPress, but I like using Yoast. So let me just make sure it's pinned on me. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Great. Okay, so we use Yoast with all of our clients. It's a really easy plugin to add and then configure some of the basic things that you need to set up some essential search optimization elements for your WordPress website. So what I'm going to be doing is just giving you a little bit of an overview, and then we're going to be going on a walkthrough, basically going through some example settings on our new site and tweaks that I've got to make, so you can see how it all works. So what I like about Yoast, and Yoast is one of the first SEO plugins that we started using. There are a few that were in the early days of WordPress, and the problem with WordPress, it's very good, but it doesn't allow you to alter some of the information that gets presented in Google search engines. And that's what Yoast does. It gives you these extra fields on pages and in the settings where you can add additional information, which sort of Google hoovers up and shows in the snippets. So you can alter page titles, descriptions. You can create XML sitemaps, which you can feed into Google Search Console. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And you can also add schema in. So if you want to create pages that are like FAQs or knowledge-based articles, you can add all of that information in as well. So you'll see in the walkthrough that there's actually quite a lot to it that you might not have discovered before. So just a few examples of what the end result of using Yoast. If we take the image on the top left, which is a little snippet of our marketing strategy page that we've currently got live, what Yoast enables me to do is I can customize the title for that page that gets shown in the snippet, which is the bit in purple, and also the description. So it allows me to customize that. Without Yoast or any other SEO plugin, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd be reliant upon WordPress just giving you whatever the title of the page is and an extract from the description. If at all, actually, I think WordPress by default doesn't put any description in at all. So you're at the mercy of Google picking the bit of content that it wants, which I think is actually exactly what's shown on that particular slide there. You can also get potentially a featured snippet for an FAQ or a how-to. So you can see an example from one of our clients, Selmac here. They have a knowledge-based article which was talking about a guillotine blade and how many times it can be turned. I don't really know what that means. That's a very engineering thing, but it might be a question that someone might ask on Google. So by using Yoast, it enables you to say that that article is actually I can't remember the exact type, but it's like an FAQ. So that where it adds additional schema or hidden code into that page that Google is able to pick up, and it presents these little featured snippets and that sit right at the top of the page. So you actually have, by making sure you include that, it's not a guarantee that you'll get shown in these little snippets, but you've got a chance. So it's really important that you add this schema, otherwise you're not going to appear there at all. And the nice thing about this is you get bumped above everything. Ads, organic listing, videos, images, you get right at the top. The other thing it can do is add information to your knowledge graph. Now, your knowledge graph is just all the information that is known about you or your organization. And it can be collected from lots of different places. Facebook has a knowledge graph. So if you're on Facebook, you'll have a personal knowledge graph. You can also have a knowledge graph for your business, and that is what your address is, when you were founded, who runs the company, where they can find you online, images about you. So there's lots of different information like that. You can add information to that in Yoast, and I'll show you a little bit about that later, where you can set up the organization name, you can set up your logo, and you can also add in your related profiles. So we can see here for Selmac again, we've got profiles for Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And these have all been added as part of the knowledge graph. It's not guaranteed they're going to show. It's up to Google or other services to pick those up. But if you don't put them in there, they're never going to show. So these are a couple of the reasons that it's useful to have some kind of SEO plugin. The sitemap. Now, this is something you don't really see on the website. It's not visible per se to the public, although it is a public document. But what's useful about this document is it's a list of all the pages that you want people or search engines to look at. Now, I primarily use it for search engines, but it basically tells me every single page on the website that we want Google to index. Yoast will create that for you. If you don't use Yoast, you either have to manually create it, maybe find another plugin. And what you don't want to be doing, if you're manually creating it, is merrily adding more blog posts and then going back over to this other document and adding into your sitemap as well. It's a waste of time. So Yoast can manage that for you. I will show you, I think I've got as part of my walkthrough to show you what that looks like. But the main benefit is you can add that XML sitemap directly into Google Search Console. And the reason I like that is if you look at the image on the right-hand side, it's showing how many valid pages are in Google's index. And we can see there's a little, in the detail section down the bottom, it says submitted and indexed. It actually doesn't show the number on there, but what that would do is show how many pages that Google has found in your sitemap that you have submitted and it has indexed. Now, that's important because you should have all of your pages that you've submitted in your sitemap should be submitted. So that's one thing to check. Can Google see all my pages? Number two, has Google indexed all of my pages? Because if it's not indexing them, but you want them indexed because they're in your sitemap, that's a little flag to dig in a little bit closer to find out what are the pages. It also tells you which pages are indexed, but not in your sitemap. So Google has found them on your website, but you haven't told Google that they're on your website. So you've got a decision to make then as to whether A, they should be added to your sitemap to help you verify that just the pages that you want optimized are in Google. And maybe you want to, if you don't want them on your sitemap, then maybe you want to tell Google that they are to be no indexed, or you don't want them in the Google index. So having them in having all the pages that you want on Google in your sitemap is really important as a sort of a sanity check. You can also then tell, I don't know if you can see this little excluded tab at the top. If you were to tick that, it would show you pages that are excluded. It'll also tell you if they're excluded from your sitemap because of an error or another reason. So for me, it's a really good way of saying, I want all these pages indexed. I know they're in Google, and if there are any problems, I can see. Because otherwise you're kind of open to Google wandering around your site indexing everything. The other important point about creating a sitemap is that you are telling Google, these are the pages I want indexed, go and index them, rather than waiting for Google to come to your site, look at your menu and spider its way around your website to find all those pages. You are telling Google these are the pages. And that's really good if you've got some pages that are quite deep in your hierarchy and a bit more difficult to find and that may not be updated so often. If you put them in your sitemap, you're going to make sure that's going to happen. And also, most importantly, this is probably where you'll see Yoast if you're using a WordPress site, is you will see it on page. So if you're editing a blog or a page, there's a little panel down the bottom or sometimes on the right, which has fields to fill in additional information. So this is where you can update your title for the page. And you can say, well, I know in WordPress it's this title, and on the page it says this title, but I want to make sure the actual title tag that is shown in the snippet in Google is this phrase. You can specify that in this section. It also gives you a little snippet example to see what it might look like on a mobile or a desktop. And most importantly, it's not shown here, but I will show you in the walkthrough. It gives you optimization suggestions. Now, these are suggestions by an algorithm, so they're not perfect, but they're a good first place to start when you're optimizing your site. The one limit of this section, and particularly the optimizations, is Yoast can't see what your site actually looks like in a web browser. So all it's doing is looking at the content in WordPress. So if you've got a very dynamically generated site where there's just a short code on the page or a few bits of script and it actually pulls in that content as the page loads, Yoast can't help with that. It can only help when by reading the content that's actually in that article or that page. So let's get on with the walkthrough. Now, hopefully I've got everything ready here. Let's go to my site. So here is our new website. Not quite ready yet. There's a few tweaks that Claire and I are making. And actually next week, I think it is Claire, Chris, sort of my SEO guru, Chris Richards, will actually be looking at our site and hopefully not ripping it apart, but coming up with particular suggestions that we can do to improve its search optimization, particularly for our marketing club. So what you're in now, which is what we want to promote. So let's work through this. So where do I want to start first? I want to start in the main settings, really. So if I go into the back end of WordPress, I'll move this down because I can't actually see it loading. And I'm going to scroll down to Yoast, which when you add it as a plugin, you'll see it on the left-hand side. I'm not going to show you how to add it as a plugin. It's very straightforward. You just go into plugins, go to add, search for Yoast, and add it and activate it, and it'll come up here. But once it's activated, this is the dashboard. So in the dashboard, it's really just giving you an overview of any problems or issues that it wants your attention. Good, we haven't got any on here, which is brilliant. And you may also see some other notifications of things it wants you to do. So like I've been making some changes to this website, so it needs to run through and reprocess its index, its SEO index, just to speed up the site a little bit. So that's maybe something you might do from time to time. Not essential, but it'll remind you when that needs doing. And also, I'm using the free version of Yoast. So it's always going to have these little reminders and nags that perhaps I want to upgrade to the premium version. I don't need it, but I do have clients who do use it and they find it very useful because it does give them additional advice and help online. In fact, Yoast's website does have a lot of advice on not only setting up the plugin, but general SEO advice as well. So it's worth having a look at the Yoast site, which I think is just yoast.com. So moving on from the dashboard, because it's not very exciting in there, let's have a look at features. So in features, we've got a long list of things we can turn on and off. Let me just briefly explain some of the important ones in here. So SEO analysis. This is something you're going to want to leave on. It's one of the benefits of having Yoast. It's going to help give you advice and guidance on what to do. So we do want to leave on SEO analysis. If you want to find out what any of these actually are, you can just click on the little question mark next to them, and it gives you a little bit of advice on what it is. So this is the section that actually gives us optimizations and improvement advice. So we do want to leave that on. Next is readability. Again, this is something that's really useful. Yoast will run your page content via a system. I think it's the Fleisch reading score. Can't remember who they use. They use a separate service, but it's this Fleisch reading score. And what it tries to do is give you advice on how to make it easier to read. You want your content to be as easy to read as possible. So unless it's a particularly technical document where you are only going to have a niche subset of people reading it, you want to make it as accessible as possible. That doesn't mean dumbing it down, but it does mean trying to avoid complicated paragraph or wording structures. So it does give you advice on that. Next, we've got cornerstone content. There's different words for this used in the SEO industry. Yoast uses cornerstone. We use hub and spoke content. Basically, all it's trying to say is with cornerstone content is there should be really important pages or articles on your website. These are the ones where you are really attracting where you want people to land from Google search, or where you're attracting traffic to. They're your main drivers of traffic. And so what this option is allowing you to do is turn on the feature to mark certain pages or posts as cornerstone. And it gives additional optimization techniques for those pages. Plus, it also allows you to filter off those pages or posts so you can optimize them and focus on them independently rather than seeing them in all of your content. So personally, I'd leave that on. Text link counter. This is something you'll see in the, I wonder if I can show you in here. If I just show you in the posts view, the text link counter is this feature on the right-hand side. You can see little paper icons with an in arrow and an out arrow. This shows you the number of outgoing links in a particular post, or the number of incoming links in a particular post. Now, I'll go to this Cornerstone content tab just at the top here. So I've marked this as Cornerstone already. And we can see now the number of outgoing links from this page and incoming links from this page. As it's a Cornerstone piece of content, I'd really want to bolster that and make sure there are more links coming into it, certainly from internally in this site, because that's all Yoast can see. So that's a good indicator. If you want to optimize that site, then we want to increase the number of links there. You've also got a little brief indicator of the optimization, which is a little traffic light here, the SEO score, and the readability score. You want those to be green. At the moment, my guide to managing the WordPress site needs a little bit of work. So moving down here, we've got some premium options, which I'm not going to go into because I don't have access to them here, but they are, if you wanted to make use of the WordPress premium, link suggestions might be quite useful because it gives you advice on how to link up your page content to maximize SEO and get found online better. So I'll skip those bits. We'll move on to the XML sitemap. Now, I've already spent a long time talking about how important this is, so let's leave that on. But one thing that we don't know is, where is our sitemap? Where is this document, like, that isn't on the public side? Well, we find it by clicking on the question mark. So if I click on the question mark, you can find out why it's important, but you can also see the XML sitemap. So if I click on that, this is what the sitemap looks like. It's pretty unimpressive, but it's very useful to Google. What I can see here in my sitemap is all of the content that is going to be shown to Google. So I've got all of my posts, pages, products, categories, and other bits. So post tags and product category. I'll come on to those in a minute because I actually don't want those on there. And if I look into post tag, these are all the different tags that I might have used in my post. Well, I don't need that going into the Google index. It's a bit messy. I don't really want those pages indexed, so I need to turn that off. So I'll come back to that a bit later. Product categories could be useful. I've only got one at the moment. It's just membership for our club, but down the line, we're probably going to be adding more products. So having product categories is probably quite useful. Here are all the posts. We've got quite a few of them. Might take a little while to load. There's about, I don't know, about 300 or something in there, maybe more. There's a lot the other day. It took a long time when we were merging the site over. It took ages to import all of that content in, because not only are there a lot of posts, some of them are quite long. Yeah, so it looks like it's taken quite a while to load. But basically, if I click on that, that will show me all of the posts that are listed on our website. Same with pages and same with products. So here we are. So this is basically an index for Google to look through and see all of the different posts on our site. Also, quite importantly, when they were last updated. So this is giving Google additional information to know when to go back and index that page, because it's going to check the sitemap periodically. And when it does, it's going to see that, oh, some of these pages actually need indexing, some don't. And if they don't, it won't go and index them. If they do, it'll put them to the priority, to the front of the queue. So that's just a brief insight into the map. We might look at that a little later. So if I just leave that open for the moment. So we do want XML sitemaps enabled. The admin bar menu, you can turn that on or off. I mean, it basically just shows you a little Yoast icon at the top for quick and easy access to Yoast tools. I don't bother with that, so I tend to leave it off, but that's up to you. And this is something that I think is a default for on. It doesn't allow authors on a page to change the schema. I said schema was this hidden information that Google can read, but other people can't see. what people have had in the past is that you might have individual authors on a big blog site. They might get disgruntled and update the schema to have rude things in there. They may also just update it in a way that isn't optimized for the site. So this is a way of actually turning that off if you don't want that, if you don't want the authors to have the ability to change their own schema, but you can turn that off. There are a few other things here. Usage tracking, that's sending little bits of data to Yoast to see how their plugins working for people. I turn that off. I'm not going to send any additional information. And then other bits to do with enhanced Slack sharing, which I don't use Slack, so I'm not bothered with that. This is like if you have a company where you are constantly copying and pasting in articles from your website, you might want this because it's going to put additional information onto the page, but I don't use it, so it's off. And then this is if you want to communicate with Yoast using your own script, then you might want to turn this on, but I don't, and most of our clients, we never ever use that. So I'll leave that off just to save a little bit of overhead on the website. So let's save those changes and move on to the next section. There's not much to talk about on the next section, but I'll briefly show you them. So integrations, I just tend to leave these on. They are additional services that Yoast can use to provide extra information. You can turn those off or on. If you have a premium account, then you can even turn on Zapier, which means that Zapier can query your site and say, if something happens on your website, like a new page is added, Yoast can tell Zapier, and then Zapier can do something with that, post it to another social account, log it in your Slack. I don't know, but Zapier is like a completely separate automation engine. So there's some things you can turn on and off, and also webmaster tools. I don't use this because we verify sites in a different way, but if you want to, you can actually put a verification code for Google Search Console in. Google Search Console will give you a code. You can pop it in there, save the changes. It adds that code to the website, and then Google can verify your Search Console with your website to prove that you own it. We don't tend to use that. I tend to verify them on the domain, which gives us access to more information. See our Google Search Console walkthrough for more information on that. Okay, so that's a bit boring stuff. Let's get on to the more interesting stuff. Let's go into search appearance. So this is where we can actually start tweaking how Yoast is impacting on us on our website. So firstly, I'm going to skip past this first section, but firstly, we'll get to the knowledge graph and schema. So I've mentioned that before. This is where we can make sure we've got our proper organization name and any logo added. I haven't got a logo added on there, so let's go and select a logo. Pick one from my library, or you could upload one as well. And that means that we are now saying in the schema, the organization that owns this website is called Rather Inventive, and this is their logo. So, if any service wants to use that, it's got all the information there. You can, however, represent your site as a person. So we've done that with one of our clients who is known as a person more than they are known as the company. They do have a company name, but they're known more as the person. So we have actually changed that. That does change a few of the options, but to be honest, for most clients, it's going to be optimizing for an organization. So let's save that. Great. And then whip through the other sections. What we can do under these tabs is we can turn on and off the different settings on the website, whether we want optimization on posts and pages, whether they show up in the sitemap, whether that content should be indexed or not. So I'm just going to whip through and just quickly change some of this so it's up to date with how I want it. So I do want posts to be in the search results, and I do want to optimize them using the SEO settings, so I'll leave that on. However, what I want to do, and Yoast doesn't do this by default, but I recommend you add it in, is I automatically want the meta description, unless I change it, to be a little excerpt, a short element of the description. So to do that, I just type a special character which starts the variable. You can insert them from the right-hand side, but I find it easier to do this. And we just start typing excerpt. And the options are, well, I can either have the excerpt that WordPress generates, which is a little short summary, or I can actually just add the specific excerpt that I've put against the page. Now, if you don't know where the excerpt is, I will try and remember to show you when I go and look at the post. And it's just basically a very short introduction to that particular page. So I just want the excerpt to show. And what that's going to do is, it's rather than I have to go and add a meta description to each post, it's going to automatically add one in for me. I'm happy with the title and page though. So scroll down. These are schema settings here. So this is where if we had a knowledge base post type, we might actually set that to an FAQ page. And so that will then help that additional schema is going to help show up a particular featured snippet, a bit like that CellMac example I showed you. But this is not, this is just a regular web page. It is an article type, that's fine. Some additional detail locked by premium, but I don't have time to cover that yet. We also have pages in our site. I do want to optimize those, so we'll leave everything active. I've already put the excerpt in there already. And we also have products. I don't have many, just got our membership products, but again, we want the excerpt in there. So that all looks good. I'm going to save those changes. Do make sure you save as you go along. So that's that section, that's content types. And that's what you see on the right-hand side here, posts, pages, and products. Media, very simple tab. I just leave this as it is. I don't think there's any reason to change this at all. If for some reason though, you go into media and it's set to no, the problem that can cause is it makes pages for every single one of the images on your website. And so what you can end up having is a, let's say you've got a page with 10 images on it. Each of those images then becomes its own page. And so your site will then start having tens or hundreds of other sort of boring pages because all those pages are showing are that image. So we don't want that. So by default, we want to make sure this is on yes, which means any images are it's not creating these sort of fake pages. So save changes. Now move on to taxonomies. Taxonomies is a fancy word for categorization of things. And we've got different taxonomies in here. We've got categories of the posts. Categories is like a default taxonomy within WordPress. Yes, I do want to show those in search results because actually for us, categories are really important. That's where we group all of our main content together. And potentially I do want the SEO settings. And I want to add in a default description. Now it's slightly different for this one. I start with the % again, and I put term description. Because taxonomies are called terms in WordPress. So we've got a term title and a term description. So that's just going to make sure that any description I put against the category is automatically added in there. Skip through that bit. I've also got tags. I actually don't want to show tags on there. Let's turn that off. And what that will do is take them out from the sitemap as well. Formats, this is an internal WordPress thing. We want this off. We don't want to show formats on there. And by default, all of these will be on, by the way. So it is worth going through Yoast and turning them off. Product categories, yes, I want to leave my categories on. Meta description, let's put that in again. So term description. Product tags, no, not interested in having the products tags showing. So let's turn that off. Yeah, that should be off. And product shipping classes. I mean, it's just the way WordPress works. Shipping class happens to be a taxonomy. It's not useful to anyone viewing your website, but that's just technically how it's showing it. So we don't actually want any of those shipping classes. A shipping class is basically different ways that you might ship a package from one place to another, different carriers that you might use. We're doing everything digitally. We don't need any of that at all. But even if you were, I would probably remove that. So that's all off and off. Great. And save changes. Now, I'll just mention what this last bit does down the bottom, category URLs. It really does depend on the way your site is set up. But generally speaking, if you go to a particular category page on your website, it might say something like your website /blog /category / whatever the category name is. Yoast SEO in this case. What we might want to do is actually remove that category section. So it says /blog /Yoast SEO as our category. You can do that here. Personally, this will depend on your theme as to whether it works. I don't tend to use it. I just tend to leave it on and I control the categories in a different way. I control them. I'll briefly show you, but it's almost a whole workshop in itself. I control them using settings and permalinks. So if I go in here briefly, I'm not going to explain too much of this. But what this is showing here is I want our blog articles to have a base page name for their category called articles. Just briefly show you what that might look like. I go into articles here. We've got a number of subtopics, subcategories. If I click on the SEO one, we look up in the URL there, we've got our website /articles/SEO. If I changed articles to posts categories, another word, then it would substitute. It would change what's in there. Bear in mind though, if you make any changes, once your website is live and set and you make any change to these, they will change pretty much instantly once you click save down the bottom. And all of your pages might break if you've changed it significantly. And you're going to want to ideally not change anything on this page. Or if you do, make sure that you have all of the old pages redirected to the new pages. So let's go back here. So now I've made some changes to taxonomy. Let's go back and have a look. I'm going to make sure that's saved. And then we'll go back and have a look at the sitemap and we can see what's being removed from here. So we can see that the post tag has been removed. And actually there were no product tags, so they weren't showing anyway. So it's now tidied up our sitemap a bit more. So you can see how that impacts it. I think that's everything there. Right, moving on, we've got archives. These are sort of additional pages. So a good way of looking at this is if you have a post that maybe Claire has posted, we can have a page for all of Claire's posts, and that's called an archive, an author archive. We aren't too bothered about author archives on our website, but if you're running a big online blog or newspaper or something like that, then you might actually want to have each writer having their own separate archive, author archive page. So I'm basically saying, I don't want that, let's turn it off. Same with date archives. WordPress actually allows you to have archives showing all posts in this date range, all posts for this month. I'm not interested in that either. So I turn all of that off. Special pages, I've never used this really much. I just tend to leave it as default, but you might want to change it for your search page, for example. I'll just give you an example of what that might look like for a client. We go to Eclipse, and I'm just going to search for a very popular product, NetBots. So if I were to change that setting in Yoast, what that would do is alter what it says up in the title tag. So the title tag says, you search for NetBots. If I look back in here, we can actually change that phrase to be you searched for, and it puts a search phrase in and then other information. I can completely customize what it says in the title. That is only if search pages are important for SEO for you, that you'd probably want to play with that. For most websites, that's not the case. You can also alter it for 404 pages or pages that cannot be found. But you know what, I just leave that as default. Breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are quite fun. What breadcrumbs do, if you're not familiar, is they show how to get back to the sort of base content. I'll give you an example of that because it's much easier to show you. So if we look at our main website here and we go into one of these categories, and I'm going to go into email marketing this time. This is the breadcrumb at the top. And at the moment it says home, which takes me to the home page. And then it's actually got the final destination, which is email marketing. It's not particularly useful. It's not telling me a lot. Really, I'd actually want it to take me back to the articles page, not the home page. So we'll need to customize that a little bit. But let's go into an article here. Let's look at number 2 of our Inventive Marketing Club. So if I go into that, I can now see this says home, and then I'm in articles, and then I'm in this this particular post. So I can see that I can go back. If I want to go back to the articles page, I can do that. But you'll see that it doesn't quite make sense. One, I don't want home in there because I don't want people to go back to the home page, but also now doesn't have the main category in there as well. So what I want to do is I want to go back to my breadcrumbs appearance. And first of all, I want to take out anchor text for homepage. If I do that and save and refresh the page, it just removes home from the beginning. So now it looks like articles is the very first thing. That's more useful to me. Click on that, it's going to take me back to articles. Brilliant. That's better. But also I want, on the category page, I want it to show the blog. So let's go here. Articles. Oh, I need to save that. And then if I go into one of these categories, it should show at the top, it's removed home, but it's also put articles in. So I've got now a nice connection between articles. It's always the main base of content. There are other options in here. So you can add additional taxonomy in. So I think it should do this. If I put category in here, post category, it should then put the category in between the posts as well. I say should because I haven't tried it on this particular one. Nothing like a bit of live. Let's try this one. So yeah, it's done exactly the right thing. So we got articles, pro content, and then our the pre-Christmas puppet special that we had there as the title. Now, what it's done is it's picked the primary article. If I want to go in, if I want to make sure that's social media, I can go into the post and I can select the primary category. Sorry, not article in Yoast. So let's just go and edit that. And scroll down, find my categories. Why had it open? There we go. At the moment, the primary category is pro content. I want to make it social media. So that makes sense. I click on social media. I'm going to then be under the social media banner. So I've saved that, go back to view post. And now it says articles, social media, and I've got a nice pathway. I've got breadcrumbs to find my way back, just like Hansel and Gretel. So I can navigate all the way back through the route. The nice thing about doing that is when Google spies your site, it's going to have a nice hierarchy to it. And it's going to make it a lot easier to understand the context of your site and how everything flows together. So breadcrumbs are important if you use them. If you don't use them, they won't show on there. If you do have them enabled, you can actually turn them off. So if I disabled it, then the breadcrumbs will stop showing. So I'll let you have a play with that. Most themes do have them included. If they don't, then you'll need to add a little bit of code into the place where you want the theme. For some of you, that's not going to be possible, but usually they should be included on there. And then just finally on this page, RSS. So RSS feeds, for those of you who don't know, I think it stands for real simple syndication. But what it is it's all of your posts in a common format, which is the RSS format, which is basically the title, the content, when it was posted, who the author was. And it looks a bit like the XML document. I often can't get it to show. It's very difficult to show you on here. I'd have to show it in a different browser. But essentially, it's a bit of code that computers can identify what all of those bits are. The reason it's useful is that other systems will look at your site, and if everything's in RSS format, it's much easier for them to pull out those articles. Now, I use something called, what's the purpose of this, you might ask? I use a newsreader called Feedly. And what that allows me to do is I can copy and paste in people's websites, and it extracts this RSS feed into Feedly. So if I can just very briefly show you, I'm not going to share it properly on here, but I'll just very briefly show you here. What it allows you to do is have all of those articles in a very neat format without people having to visit all those individual websites. So it's going to look a little something like that. I don't know if you can see it. It's a bit bright, isn't it? There we go. And so these are articles from other websites that I like looking at, usually tech ones, marketing ones, but I can, because they've all got RSS feeds, I can put those into Feedly and it's going to bring them all into one place. You can also use RSS feeds if you're using something like Campaign Monitor. You can put the RSS feed into Campaign Monitor and it will, on a schedule, look at the most recent posts in that feed and then create an email based on those. So it can actually help with your marketing automation. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, except to say it does have additional content that it adds into the feed. So what it can put after each post is this link appeared first on whatever this blog was. So you can customize that to put that into your feed. Sometimes it also puts it into the copied and pasted text as well, but I don't really worry too much about that. So that's everything on these on the SEO appearance section. Let's now briefly take a tour of social. Now, I promise we'll get onto the really good stuff before we finish. So in here, I'm just going to look at this one section here. This is where you add these additional social profiles to your to the knowledge graph. So you end up with something like this here. So I'm just going to quickly populate those from our website. Because I can't remember all our social profiles off by heart, I'm just going to copy them in here. So we've got Twitter, we've got LinkedIn, and we've got YouTube. So I'm just going to copy the URLs from those, paste them in. That actually just wants the username. I don't want to go into admin. I just need to go to my profile here. So my profile, there we go. Put that in, and then YouTube. So by posting those in, they're added to this hidden schema, and if Google wants to, it might pull that into your knowledge graph. The reason for it is the more information you have like that, the more rounded your company looks, the more real your company looks, and it might give you some a little jump on your SEO. Okay, I think that's everything we've got in there. In search, social. Let's go on and have a look at optimizing a particular page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at one of our main articles that I'm looking to promote, which is this fundamental marketing strategy. So let's click on this. So this is a really long article. It's actually very good. If none of you have seen it, it's a really good article that takes you through lots of different areas to do with planning, SEO, website development, content, and so on. And it gives you lots of little bits of advice. I've actually been through it on one of the previous, in fact, I've got 3 of these. We've got Foundation, Pro, and Expert. And as club members, you can watch all of those. And soon you can access all of the content from them as well. But this one is free and open to everyone. So I want to promote this. This is something I want to get found online. So let's go and optimize it. I go into Edit Post. Let's scroll all the way down the bottom, which is where you normally find Yoast. Here we are. We get to the Yoast tab at the bottom. And the first thing we see under SEO is a focus key phrase. This allows us to enter in the word that we are looking to get found for online. So in here, I want this to be, I think it was marketing strategy. That's the main key phrase. When you do that, that then starts giving you additional optimizations in this analysis, which I'll come to in a second. So moving down the page, we also get a little preview of what it looks like. Currently, it doesn't look quite good. In fact, it's got a separator. It's got this accidental separator in there that needs to be changed. That's because I was messing about with it the other day. So I need to sort that out. I also need to put in a custom description rather than just relying on the excerpt. Oh, while I remember, the excerpt, for those of you who want to know, is found on the right-hand side. At the moment, it has nothing in it. That, if I call for the excerpt using that little tag, WordPress will generate one. It's going to generate one that's, I think, around 20 words. So it's going to take the first part of the content that you can see. Sorry if that's too flashing in front of you. It's going to take the first part of the content here and it's going to create an excerpt from that, from the first 20 words. If, however, you want to customize that yourself, let me get onto the actual content again. Then I can write my own introduction in there. So the excerpt becomes that. I'm lazy. I like it to automatically generate it, except for Google search. So I'm actually going to put my own description in here rather than leaving it to excerpt. And actually, let's sort the title out as well. I need that to be a bit better. So I'm going to fix this, take all that out. I do want the site title. The site title just says rather inventive, so I do want that in there. But I want it to say on this particular page, I want it to be marketing strategy. And then we are on foundation, I think. So that's what I want my title to be. Marketing strategy is my important keyword, but this is the foundation level. And then I'll put in the separator. And what the separator is, I think you saw it in one of the settings. It's just you can choose whether you've got a hyphen, you've got a pipe, which is a sort of vertical line. You can choose what separates your title. I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. So that's put in there, customize that. And then, in fact, before I put description in, let me just show you what the analysis looks like at the moment. I'll click on the little drop down. It's giving me additional things that I can do. So I actually need to put my focus key phrase in more times. It's saying at least 10 for this length of content. That's up to you, whether you can fit, in my case, the word marketing strategy in a few more times. I think I've got some options that I can do. It's also saying it wants the key phrase in the subheading more, and potentially some other improvements, putting the image key phrase, the key phrase in some images. Oh, it's saying my meta description length isn't long enough. So let me change that and actually add that in. Let's find the content I had for that previously. So this will be the bit of text that people see in the snippet. That's it. And I can see it's nice. It's just the right length. So it's it's a nice green bar. So it's not turning red. If I type some more words, it's going to start turning orange, which means it's too long. I've got so much content on the page, it seems to be a bit slow. I take that out. So that's the perfect length. If I cut it short, then you'd see that green bar recede to the left-hand side, which means it's too short. So that looks pretty good. My title could actually be a bit longer. I could put foundation level in. That's going to make it a bit longer, because I know that's one of the things that will tell me is try and make that title as long as I can to fit in there. So that's disappeared. That's good. Now, also, this is one of my main important pages. So I'm going to go down to cornerstone content and turn this on. And it appears to do nothing, but what it has done is actually added, it will add in additional sort of requirements into this analysis at the top for me to fill out. So let's do a few more of these bits. What else was it? I needed to add marketing strategy in a bit more. So I had a place to put that. One of them was, I go to my SEO section, which is this bit. So I could put it in here. So it says, understand your SEO strategy. I could put understanding your SEO marketing strategy, which gets the keyword in and it's still relevant. And also down the bottom, I know that was one in a title here. So rather than just foundation stage complete, it can be marketing strategy foundation stage complete. So we've got that keyword in 2 more times, and it's in our actual, in the subheading. Now I've got a few more to go, but I haven't got time to do those right now. Something you might find useful in terms of optimizing the content to make sure you've got the keyword in there a lot is to use this little eye symbol. If I click on that, it's going to highlight my key phrase in the text. So we can see now it's highlighting it in purple, my marketing strategy with your marketing. So it's taking a partial keyword match there. And there's another one here, marketing strategy. And so you can now start to look for opportunities and look to make sure that we can see it highlighted there. and you can actually see where that keyword is, so you can quickly scan through. So that looks pretty good. You turn that off. So have I done everything I wanted to there? I've optimized the title, so I'm happy about that. I've put a meta description in. I haven't just left it to chance. I put in some more keywords. Oh, there were some, I don't think it's on here now, but there was a comment from it previously about adding in more links to other resources, because it wants you to have a nice linking structure between all your pages. And I want to promote my other page that you saw in the Cornerstone content, which if I go to it now, I want to promote my page on WordPress. So my guide to managing WordPress website. I want to promote that because that's an important page for me, and I can do that in here. So if I go through to the website section, let me find it. Now I just want to find a section that talks about WordPress. I can't find it now. Oh, I'll just find any link then, just to show the example. So what I might want to do is just link through to a particular page. So let's say this was a link through to how to do a bit more of a backup. I can highlight the text. See if that comes up with anything. Yeah, and I've come up with my guide to managing a WordPress website. That's now linked. So I've got a good linking between my Cornerstone content. I'm going to remove that though, because that's not in the right place. Let's update that. It's going to save everything. And now when I go back and look at my Cornerstone, I can see both pages there. And you can see that my marketing strategy is actually pretty good in terms of my optimization, because I have added those extra things in. So it gives you not only a focus, you can just look at that key content, but also it gives you some indications of how optimized it is. I've got how many outgoing links, how many incoming links. I probably want to bolster that incoming link somehow. So going back to the post, if I scroll down the bottom, just got a few more sections I want to show you in here. These related key phrase and tracking performance really are for premium customers. So if you're not premium, don't look in there, because it's just going to ask you to do things and connect. And certainly with the track SEO performance, it wants you to connect to this Wincher service, which is a separate service you'd have to pay for. So I'd leave those. However, advanced is very useful. So in advanced, we can set, if we want a custom breadcrumbs title. So if I look back at this post, that's currently our breadcrumbs title. But let's say I wanted to change that. I can just make it this instead. I haven't affected the title, but I've just changed the breadcrumb. And you might want that if you've got a particularly long title that just doesn't fit well as a breadcrumb. But I do actually want it as it is. You can also on this page set whether you want it indexed or not. Now this, you generally won't want to touch this, but sometimes you do. I know working with Karen at Eclipse, there were a few pages where they had a lot of content. It was maybe over optimized in a certain area. Still wanted the content there for people to read, but we didn't want it to be indexed. So what we'd actually do is go into here and say, allow search engines to search for this post and search results. No. And that means it gives Google a signal to say, don't index this, no index this, please. And it will eventually take it out of its index. So for some pages, you might want that, but by default, you do want it indexed. There's also some additional advanced meta rope tags to control indexing. Again, you probably don't need to touch any of that. So the only other thing you might want to play with in here, and this could be useful if you've got lots of what might be considered duplicate content, but again, you need to have those posts out there, is you can add in a canonical URL. So you might have, let's say, 2 posts. You need those 2 posts public, but you don't want Google to consider between those 2 posts. You might say, this is the important one. This is the one I wrote first. That's the important one. This is the not important one. Doesn't need to be in the index. What you can do in the one that's not important is you can give it the URL of the one that is. And all it does is it gives a signal to Google to say, this bit of content, the actual main resource for it is over here. I don't have anything like that to show you, so it's difficult to see. And generally speaking, you won't have it, but there are instances, certainly I've had it working with Chris, where we need to do that. We need to actually say, no, this resource, we don't want to index, and that actually comes from over here. That is it on that page, I think. Let me just see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, now this is one last thing I want to show you that's really cool. It's called Yoast blocks. So if you've got the Gutenberg editor, you can actually use Yoast blocks. So let me scroll right to the top. What I might want to do up here is give a little bit of additional information about what a marketing strategy is. So if I go to here and I'll click add, if I just type in Yoast, then I can see the additional Gutenberg blocks Yoast adds. I've got FAQ, which is great, which is frequently asked questions, which is useful if you've got a question answer that you need to have on your website. Like if you're running a holiday site or you've got a product where people ask lots of questions, you're going to have a lot of FAQs. So that's what's useful here. Yoast how-to. This is pretty useful if you've got a recipe site, for example, and you've got a series of steps on how to cook something, or maybe you've got a knowledge base article, and as part of that knowledge base article, you've got a series of steps on how to fix something. You can also put in a link to show what the actual breadcrumb is for that page. That is useful if your theme doesn't show breadcrumbs, but you do want to show a breadcrumb on that page. Personally, I've never used it on any site that I've ever developed, but it's there. But what I want to do on this page is let's add in an FAQ for what is a marketing strategy, because I want to get found in one of these. Let me scroll to the top. One of these, not that one, sorry, this one. I want to get found in one of these featured snippets, but I won't get found unless I'm adding the code in. So this allows me to add in the code for what is a marketing strategy, which is a valid thing to have on this page. So what I can do is add the question, add the answer. I have pre-written these, I'm not typing them very fast. And I can add more if I want. So I can add multiple questions to this. But I don't want multiple questions. I just want one at the moment. And I'm just going to pop it above this section here because I think that's valid. If I update that, and we'll have a look at the page, it's just going to add a little bit of content. It looks the same as the rest of the content, so you wouldn't know, but it's actually added additional schema in. I will show you, but only for the curious. You can see it's added some additional schema saying this is an FAQ block, this is the question, and this is the answer. And that's all it's adding. And it just gives Google that extra information. So that's really it. I mean, that's all. I mean, there are a few other little bits that I could show on Yoast, but we've run out of time. I think I've covered the main area there, and hopefully that's going to be useful in terms of you searching through and every single page. And I do recommend that you take maybe a few key pages and find out which are your cornerstone ones, focus on those first, and then work through your other pages. Related webinars that are going to help you with this are number 6, an SEO strategy, which is going to take you through a lot of the sort of groundwork you should do really before you're diving into Yoast and editing all the pages. Plus, relatedly, number 34, I did an update to our WordPress walkthrough, which is going to give you some advice on how you can use your WordPress site to edit and maintain pages. So they link very nicely together. So that is everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out of screen share. And we're going to see if has anyone got any questions on that. Well, they're all satisfied. I noticed Claire, I noticed you stroking the cat like an evil henchman while we're on air. Yeah, good. But hopefully that was useful to you in terms of seeing how Yoast works. I think it's a really good tool. There are a few others. I haven't mentioned them just because really I have very little experience with them. Yoast is the key one that we use. But if there's no questions, then we'll wrap it up. We'll see you next week. Oh yeah, so just before we go, next week we're going to be looking at we're going to be bringing Chris in. Is that right, Claire? Chris is going to be walking through our staging site, picking it apart, and hopefully giving us some advice on improving search optimization for that particular site before it goes live. But other than that, let me see what else we've got to sign off. So we're here every Friday at 10 a.m. We cover really so many different topics, from strategy, SEO like this, social, video, loads of stuff. If there is a particular topic that you'd like us to cover, just let Claire know. You can email her, support@ratherinventive.com, and she'll organize that with you. If you also want to feature on that topic, or you've got something interesting to say, do let Claire know. We're always looking for club members to come on and talk about something interesting they're doing, whether it's with marketing or in their business or something exciting to share. Do let us know. If you can't watch it live, you can share this link with a friend. So if you've got someone else who you think might benefit more from a particular session, just let them know. Share the link with them, maybe copy us in so we can welcome them when they come along. The more the merrier, really. And don't forget, all of these are recorded. So if you want to catch up with anything, everything is on Basecamp. All of the 43 that we have done now are there. So thanks very much for watching, and see you all next week. Bye for now.